Weather Service office in Little Rock. And today we're going to talk about the upcoming winter storm that's expected to affect the state starting tomorrow and probably lasting through the day on Thursday. So what we're looking at here is a pretty significant winter storm with some significant snow, sleet, and ice accumulations possible. After the storm moves through, we do expect temperatures to fall into the teens and 20s behind it. So whatever falls, it's probably going to be with us through the weekend. In terms of timing, we're looking at rain, beginning tonight, maybe through the day tomorrow, transitioning to snow in northwest Arkansas during the day on Wednesday, but remaining in the form of rain for the rest of the state, more or less until late Wednesday afternoon into the overnight hours. Wednesday night into Thursday morning is when we expect shallow cold air to work its way around the Ozarks and the Ouachitas and to move its way into central Arkansas, eastern Arkansas, southern Arkansas, and basically anywhere in the Delta area. With ongoing precipitation and that shallow cold air in place, that's when we expect to start picking up some significant sleet and or freezing rain. Again, northwest Arkansas, more likely to see the snow and sleet. As you go further southeast, you're more likely to see sleet and then freezing rain. We are, again, expecting a significant winter storm here. So, there could be some pretty major impacts, including the possibility, especially those areas that receive significant ice accumulation, the possibility of seeing down power lines and being without power for the possibility of several days. Our current headlines, our current winter storm and winter storm watch headlines, we have the winter storm warning in effect for northern Arkansas right now. And that's more or less just a timing issue. We're confident that the cold air is going to hit the Ozarks. We know that's going to cause a changeover to some snow and some sleet at those higher elevations during the day on Wednesday, maybe starting Wednesday morning and throughout the day on Wednesday. What we're less confident about is how fast that cold air is going to be able to make its way around the Ozarks, the Boston Mountains, and the Ouachitas, and its way into the lower elevation areas of central, southeast, east, and southern Arkansas. So we have a winter storm warning in effect for those areas where we're highly confident we're going to get snow and sleet over the next 36 hours. And that watch, that's basically just there because of some uncertainty as to how fast the cold air will move in relative to how much precipitation we're getting. And that watch, again, it's a timing issue. We're not expecting the areas in the watch to get significant wintry accumulations or precipitation until a little bit later on. So maybe not until Wednesday night throughout the day on Thursday. Right now, our potential ice accumulation, and this is going to be through the whole event. So we're talking anytime Wednesday through Thursday night. You can see an axis there. In northwest Arkansas, we don't see much ice. That's because a lot of it will fall as snow. As you move southeast, that shallow cold air, as it comes around the Ozarks and moves from northeast to southwest across the state, that's where we're likely to see that shallow cold air. The temperatures aloft are going to be warm, so rain will fall into that shallow cold air, and it will freeze on contact, with the cold, mainly elevated surfaces to begin with, but then the ground, once the ground gets below freezing. And we're looking at picking up a significant amount of ice, anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch of, freezing rain or ice, anywhere from Fort Smith to Mena through central Arkansas, Little Rock, Conway, Searcy, Brinkley, and then into West Memphis and probably the Memphis metropolitan area as well. Again, with ice accumulations at these totals, 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of ice, on your power lines, on your elevated surfaces, we're talking about putting hundreds of pounds of pressure on those power lines. So power outages are very likely. It's very, very good idea to prepare to be without power for a few days, if not longer, after the storm passes. The potential sleet and snow accumulation, as I mentioned, that's mainly going to be relegated to those higher elevation areas in the Ozarks, the Ouachitas, and the Boston Mountains. That's where we expect 4 to 6 inches of snow and/or sleet combined to fall. As you move further south, once you get out of the higher terrain, where it says less than 1 inch of snow accumulation, most of that will probably fall as sleet. So we count snow and sleet sort of in the same bin when we make a weather forecast. And so in those light blue areas where it says less than 1 inch of snow, a lot of that is probably going to fall as sleet, because that's the same axis where we have the heavy freezing rain and ice accumulation as well. So what's happening here? Why is this forecast so complex? Well, the cold air, I mean, it's coming out of Canada, right? We're very confident in that. We can see the cold air rushing down the high plains, and through the high plains, there's really no significant topography differences. So that cold air is just going to rush south, and there's nothing there to stop it. When that shallow cold air, though, hits the Ozarks, the Boston Mountains, and the Ouachitas, that shallow cold air is going to get stopped. So it's basically going to slow down and get stuck behind that area of higher terrain until it builds up deep enough and moves east or west far enough to make it down the Arkansas River Valley, or to make it east of the Ozarks and start to flood in from the northeast to the southwest, after basically the Ozarks are acting like a dam for the cold air. So once the cold air gets around that dam, gets east of it, it's going to flood into the rest of Arkansas very quickly. And so this is why you're going to see cold air and snow and wintry precipitation in areas like Oklahoma and Texas before you see it in Arkansas, because of some of these topological differences. This makes it a very difficult forecast. It also means the forecast is likely to change as we follow the cold air and see how fast it moves. When it hits the Boston Mountains and the Ozarks, does it truly slow down, or is it deep enough to make it over them? That would make a really big difference in what we have in the forecast. But for now, we've got pretty good model certainty that cold air is going to get stuck behind the Ozarks, and then basically Wednesday night into Thursday morning make its way to the east and then move southwest across the state, bringing that Arctic air mass across all of Arkansas finally. Most likely precipitation types, Wednesday morning, we're going to start off again in those higher terrain areas of the Ozarks with probably a mix of snow and sleet. As we get later in the day, Wednesday afternoon, we've got again that Arctic air. It's going to keep hitting the Ozarks, but it's going to get stuck. It's not going to quite move over the Ozarks, but it is going to cause some snow and additional snow and sleet to fall over those areas. As we move into Wednesday night, the cold air gets even deeper over the Ozarks. And so we're pretty confident that that's going to make it change over to pretty much all snow, with a mix of precipitation to the southeast, and then even some of that shallow cold air making its way around the Ozarks and the Boston Mountains into central Arkansas, maybe beginning to get some freezing rain there Wednesday night and into Thursday morning. And you can see Wednesday night into Thursday morning, that progression of cold air across central and eastern Arkansas is very quick. So once that cold air gets past the higher topography of the Ozarks, that cold air is really going to spread across Arkansas quickly. And so most of the ice accumulation and or sleet accumulation across central Arkansas and points to the east and south, most of that is going to occur Thursday morning. So we may actually see mainly rain across central, eastern, and southern Arkansas until that shallow cold air gets into place. Thursday afternoon, that cold air is going to get deeper. So we're likely to see a changeover to the main moisture axis is going to be moving east. So the precipitation won't be falling as hard. But we're going to see a changeover, from freezing rain and sleet, maybe to snow and sleet. And then as that moisture moves off to the east, really just some remnant snow and sleet in the higher terrain of the Ozarks and the Ouachitas. And as I mentioned, this is an Arctic air mass, so it's an air mass coming at us from northern Canada, and so our Friday and Saturday morning low temperatures are going to be, you can see, in the teens in the north, in the lower 20s in central and southern Arkansas, and then Saturday mornings even colder with single digits in the north, and then temperatures in the teens for most of the rest of the state. So one of the problems with this winter weather event is once, snow, sleet, freezing rain falls, it's not going anywhere. It's going to stay there for a few days. And again, the longer that ice sits on the power lines, sits on tree limbs, the more likely we are to get power outages. And especially if we get some windy conditions. And unfortunately, as that cold air makes its way southwest across the state, once it passes the Ozarks there, winds are expected to pick up anywhere from 15 to 20 miles per hour, with wind gusts to 20 to 30 miles per hour. Now, if we get a quarter to a half an inch of ice on tree limbs, on power lines, with winds of 15 to 20 miles an hour, gusting to 30, we are definitely going to see widespread power outages. There's just no doubt about it. Those areas that get ice, that ice will accumulate on elevated surfaces, those power lines, those tree limbs, with the wind, whatever's weak is going to fall first. So we could lose power due to the power lines themselves falling off the pole, just because it's heavy and the power lines are swinging, or just because tree limbs they can't handle the weight and they land on the power line, and that is what knocks out power. So again, with the combination of the freezing rain that's likely across central, southern, and Arkansas and the Delta area, and those strong winds, we do advise you to prepare to possibly be without power for a few days, especially in through the weekend while that Arctic air stays in place. In terms of our forecast confidence, it is getting pretty high. Most of the models are starting to agree on the situation I just described here. That doesn't mean it's any less complex than what I described, but very confident in the freezing rain across central Arkansas and points south and east. And then that mixture of sleet is going to be in there as you go north. And then certainly the snow as you get into the higher terrain of the Ouachitas and the Ozarks. You're more likely to see the sleet and snowfall instead of the freezing rain accumulation. We're also pretty confident in the wind. The winds are probably going to pick up Thursday, although the winds could be strong throughout the event. It's just a matter of wind direction. So the winds are going to start off, right now they're out of the southeast. They're going to veer around to the north and north, and then eventually northeast as that Arctic air mass moves into place. So it's really those breezy northeasterly winds on Thursday that could really create havoc on the power grid. For the latest forecast information, you can always visit us on the web at www.weather.gov/LZK. We will be posting updates on Facebook and on Twitter and on YouTube, hopefully where you're watching this video. And there's our phone number right there, 501-834-0308. If you have any questions about the forecast, we will be sending out, we will be updating the forecast every 12 hours at a minimum. And so we will always, as we understand the complexities of this forecast better, we'll be able to give you the most accurate forecast possible as this event approaches. So good luck. Take care. Please prepare for a high impact winter storm. And we'll catch you the next time around. Thanks for tuning in. And this is Dennis Cavanaugh and Little Rock Weather signing off.